Alright, so today I'm going to be talking to you about something very, very close to my heart. It is about finances. So when I was in high school and in college, I was very unaware of financial anything. I didn't understand about saving money. I didn't understand about credit cards and the dangers of credit cards. So I got into some pretty serious credit card debt in college. And I was able to pay off that within the first year or two of me being out of college in 2013. I went back to school in 2016, and finally I got a job teaching. And the 6-month period where you can defer your loans and then eventually you have to start paying them back, that hit me, and we had to pay about $500 in student loans per month. So I just kind of want to share with you guys today about how my husband and I were able to sit down together last year in 2016, and we came up with a plan. Or not last year. Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm going to sit down today and I'm going to talk to you guys about how my husband and I were able to sit down, come up with a game plan, and pay off our student loans. So, stick around. Alright, so this topic is something that everyone talks about, and I have some advice for you, but really the main thing to pay off your debt is to have a goal and to make that your priority. So I'm going to go over some tips that you probably have read before, but I'm going to give you kind of what my husband and I were able to do to really get out of debt for seriously. So as I said, in college, I got my first credit card at 18. I got into some credit card debt because I did not have good teachers in high school to teach me about personal finance. So I really had no clue at all. So I'm really happy that I am able to teach civics and economics to students next semester again, because I really love teaching that class because it's a topic very near and dear to my heart. It's my favorite class to teach. So moving on here to give you guys some of my tips on how my husband and I were able to pay off our debt. So, as I said, we had about $60,000. I'm rounding up a little. I think it was about $59,000, but with interest over the time, I'm assuming that it rounds out to about $60,000 in debt. Yes. So that's a lot of money to go to school, and I know many people have even more, up to $100,000 in debt. And I'm not saying that it's impossible to pay off debt that much debt in 1 year, because I was able to do it, but it really just depends on the means that you have. So don't worry if it takes you 2 years, 3 years to do it. Just keep a mindset to get your debts gone. So number one, my tip would be to look for ways to save extra cash. So with my husband and I, we started to do a little bit more meal planning. Honestly, this is the area where we didn't really worry too much about, because for us, eating was important to us. So honestly, we would go to the grocery store and always look for sales, look at the weekly sales. Don't buy any unnecessary snacks. Honestly, just stay away from the snack aisle. It's gonna work different for everybody, but we were spending about $50 to $70 a week on groceries. Honestly, it was more in the $50 range. So that's what we were looking at for spending on our food. We would look for coupons every now and then. I mean, we weren't a huge couponer group or a duo, whatever, but we did use them if we found them, and we were like, we're going to buy that anyway. We would use the coupons. Complete survey. So if we ever went out to eat, on the receipt sometimes, there is a survey to complete and you get free food in exchange for doing the survey. So we would do that. Honestly, just look for ways to cut down. Like, we went an entire year and a half without buying any clothes, unnecessary. We already had the clothes. We've just been wearing the same clothes for a year. It's not a big deal, but we didn't go out every weekend to go shopping for things. Honestly, the big things that we took out of our budget was doing traveling, so we didn't get to travel anywhere. This past year, we focused on paying off our debt. We didn't really do much of anything to do with like going out, so we didn't go out to get drinks with people. We did not go out to eat very often. We did, but not too often. We didn't buy any unnecessary items, like entertainment-wise. So instead of doing things out, we would go and find new hobbies. So we would go on walks around our college campus. Honestly, we focused more on like our hobbies that we could do that were free to us for the most part. Like, for us, we did some arts and crafts kind of things, of stuff that we've already had. We did a lot of work at home. For me, I've been building my blog and my YouTube, so that's kind of been my main thing, just focusing on that. And yeah, we just pretty much didn't have much of a social life. We did things, but not like every weekend. We would make sacrifices here and there. And I'm going to combine this with another thing that we did, which was avoiding unnecessary expenses. So you probably have this before, but not using your air conditioning or heater in the winter or summer months. So in this past summer, basically we did not touch the thermostat at all. It was always about, 80 degrees in here. It sucks. You're sweating, but if you close the blinds and if you close the curtains, use some curtains to block out the sun, that's going to just save you so much more money. And then in the winter, if you just put on extra clothes and use blankets, you're good to go. So for now, we're in the winter months, so our thermostat is set at 65 degrees. And we live in North Carolina, so it doesn't get too cold here, but sometimes it goes pretty chilly at night, 20 degrees. But usually it doesn't stay on at all. It never kicks on. When we were living with our roommates who love their air conditioning, we were paying like $80 to $110 for a 3-bedroom apartment. And then we moved to our own apartment, a 1-bedroom apartment, where we would pay like $30 to $40 for our energy bill. And now we're in a 2-bedroom apartment and we pay, $40 to $50 to $60, depending on the month and how much we've used our energy. So huge savings there. Cutting cable, so we don't have cable. Well, we do have cable, I will tell you a bit. So we moved to a new apartment complex and they have a bundle with internet and cable, and we said we didn't want cable, but they made us have it anyway. So we pay $48 for cable and we don't even use it, honestly, because using Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime, that's all you need. So if you can afford like Netflix subscription, so much cheaper than cable. So try and do that. Call your cable or internet provider, and sometimes if you ask them, they can lower your bill, which works out in many cases. So there's some options for you to just literally save money with stuff that you would like if you unplug your outlets, even that saves you energy. You're not using unneeded energy. So unplug the outlets, keep your heater and air conditioning off, and you save a good amount of money each month, and that really adds up. Number 2 would be to kind of think about how much money you owe. So we had already gotten rid of our credit card debt. So I'm telling you now, if you have any credit card debt, to get rid of that first before you touch your student loans, like hardcore, because in many cases, your credit card is going to have a higher APR interest rate than your student loans do. So look at the interest rates for each of your loans, figure out which one has the highest interest rate, and focus on putting all of your money towards that loan to get rid of it. So if we had any credit card loans, we would have paid those off first. But luckily, we used our credit cards, but we paid it off every single time we used it. So we didn't have any credit card debt building up. So we logged on to our loan account. We saw the loans. So it's not just one big loan, it's a lot of different loans in many cases for what kind of loans you've taken out, a subsidized or unsubsidized loan. So look and see what kind of loans you have first. Look at your big ticket one. So if you have one that is $10,000, but it's got a 5% loan interest, but then you have a $6,000 one that has, a 15% loan interest. Focus on the $6,000, kick that out of the way, because then you're going to pay more or less interest on that in the long run. So you want to get rid of any interest at all. You don't want to pay any interest, if possible. So that's that. You're going to want to figure out a game plan for what your loans are going to look like. Hold on. Let me go grab my thingy from the fridge. Okay, I am back. I'm back. So, moving on to this part here. So, I'm talking about keeping track of your loans and what you are doing. So, you can do this in many different ways. You can do this in a lot of different methods. You can use Excel. My husband and I wrote on a piece of paper. This is our whole thing. So you see, we actually started tracking in January 2017, but we had been paying since November of 2016 is when we actually officially started paying off our loans. So we started a little bit late with this, but I would suggest using something like this. Like, we have the date, and then we have our total that we own in our bank account, and then the total we owe on the loans in this column here. So you see, technically, it's about $59,000. So I guess I was wrong. It was a little bit more when we started in 2016. I thought we started at 59. So we probably like $62,000 is what we did pay. And then on this side, it's his car, my husband's car, that he owes money on still. And we still have about $7,000 on that, but as long as our student loans are gone, I'm happy. So if you notice here, if you notice on this column, we wanted to keep in our bank at least $10K at all times until we hit about August of 2017, because that is when we saw that we were going to be ahead of schedule in paying off our loans. So we were like, all right, let's just put it all in. So closer and closer we got, the more and more money we put in. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of give you an idea of what our money situation is and was while we were paying off our loans. So we both got jobs starting in 2020. I got mine in 2016. My husband got his first job in 2017 when he graduated that December. So we both worked for a year. My husband earns $45K a year. I earn $35K a year. And that's gross, so not net. So what my husband gets paid, he gets paid twice a month. So he gets paid $1,600 a month, twice a month. While I get about $2,800 a month, and I get paid at the end of the month. So that's what our money income was, our flow of money each month was. we sat down and we wrote down how much money we needed to pay for our bills. So our rent is $980 for a 2-bedroom apartment. That also includes cable and internet, so that's included in that charge. We set aside about $50 to $80 for our utilities a month. Usually it was under $50, but we put about that much away just in case. Our gas was about $100 a month. Our phone, $100 a month. The food, we put about $150 to $200 a month. It really just depended on the month. And for fun, we put around $50 a month in. And a lot of the times we didn't even touch it. We didn't even use that, so we would just go ahead and put that towards the debt. So if you can, in any way, crunch corners and save money, and you have extra money at the end of the month, I would go ahead and put that towards the debt as much as you can. So as you can see here, most of after we paid all those bills that you saw on the screen here, we put everything else, any penny we had, into the loan. So that's what we did. Now, another suggestion, if you're paying off your loans and you maybe are just starting paying those off because you just got out of school and you're starting your 6-month deferment is up, don't pay the minimum payment. I mean, you can, but you're going to be doing that for, I don't even know, depends, 10 to 30 years of paying a minimum payment and paying all the interest, and it's just ridiculous. So in my opinion, I've seen family members and friends who are just like paying the minimum a month for their student loans, and like I have family members who are like, I don't know, 40 now, and they're still paying off their loans, and like that's just ridiculous to me. So I sat down with my husband and we said, we're not going to do that. We are going to pay them off because we want to be debt free. Everybody wants that. So you need to make that your priority. So you need a support system. That's my next tip. So I had my husband. We were on the same page. That's another thing. You guys, if you have a spouse or a partner, you need to be on the same page and both have the same goals and know what the other is thinking. Now, if you're going out and buying a coffee every morning and you're not really taking it seriously, it's not going to work, and you might get into a fight. You guys might just kind of give up on paying it off. So you need to have a support system that supports you. It could be a partner, it could be your mother, your father, your sister, your friend, someone you trust to kind of help you and talk to you about your debt. Tracking your progress, like I said, on that paper, that's what we did. You can do it on a Excel sheet. Anyway, that's kind of the mindset here. Now, when my husband and I started our journey in 2016, in November of 2016, it was right after our wedding. So we made sure that when we paid for our wedding that we were not going to go into debt with that. So we had a pretty small wedding. We spent about $10,000 on it, but it was all out of pocket. We didn't pay anything else. We paid for most of it ourselves. So it was kind of like, I don't know, you were a new married couple. We sat down and we're like looking at our money and we're like, you know what, we should just kind of get rid of our student loans. So that was our goal. So initially when we first started, we still had some money in the bank. So we put in about $8,000 down to pay off one of my larger loans that had the most interest on it. So we got that one out of the way. So luckily we were able to do that first. As I said, we didn't go out to eat. We didn't go on weekend trips. We didn't go on any big travel trips. We stayed in most of the weekends and just kind of hung out and did our own kind of thing. So it's really sacrificing fun. It's sacrificing fun and things that you want to do. So it's about trying to look at the bigger picture. Another thing that we did that you can try is selling some of your things that you don't necessarily need or want anymore, but someone else might want. Like, I was really big into eBay for a time, selling things like video games and some art supplies that are in demand. Some clothes I sold, shoes, makeup that I didn't use. I sold those on eBay, and I made a pretty decent profit off of that. Now, that does take some time and commitment, so you just kind of have to want it. You gotta have to make extra time to do things like this. Another thing that I did as soon as I got out of school and I was looking for a teaching job, I got another part-time job at a retail store that I've kept throughout this whole year of trying to pay off the loan. So I had a part-time job that I would work on the weekends, some weeknights, but at least 1 or 2 days a week I would work. And the money that I got from that is usually what we use to buy our groceries. So it was kind of like supplementing our salaries and letting us have that to put aside specifically for food or to help pay for utilities. This is super doable. Like, I had my doubts when me and my husband first started this. Me and Matthew, I'll say his name. Me and my husband did this. I had my doubts. My husband did all of the math with our salaries, and he figured out that if we put almost every penny into the debt for an entire year, so our gross together was $80K a year, we net about $60K. So what we had in our savings, our $10K that we kept in our bank account at all times, we always had that to kind of draw back on for emergencies. But everything else, basically our whole entire salary for this year, went into paying off the debt. And we actually did it. So, like, I'm telling you guys, if you make a plan, you sit out, write down everything. I'm not telling, like, we did not really budget a lot. Like, I see people who do, like, crazy budgeting, like, for every single dollar. We didn't do that much. But, I mean, if that works for you, totally do that. But we just kind of highlighted the money that we needed to pay for utilities and all that stuff. Figured out how much we needed and put everything else into that. So if you have self-control, if you can forgo your coffee every morning, if you can forgo shopping on the weekends, if you can forgo traveling, you can do it. I know you can, because we did it. So that's kind of my story of getting out of debt, and I hope that these tips were useful for you. And I don't know, I feel like I might have left some things out, so if I did, let me know. If you have any questions for me, leave them in the comments. I will answer them. And if there's enough questions, I might make a second part of this video for you guys if you want any extra, like, more detailed tips about what we did. But hopefully this was enough to kind of help you get started and get you kind of inspired to go out there and tackle your debt. Because if I can do it, you guys can do it. For real. I know you can. So, again, don't forget to leave me any comments if you have any other questions. If you would like to see more videos like this, let me know. And thanks for watching. Have an excellent day and good luck on your journey to become debt-free.